team, Dwayne Sweeney here, and this is my FC 465. Hey team, Sween's here. Got my Fin Chaser 465 Mini Chiefy 3.0. Done some pretty cool stuff to this one, so come on, let's check it out. Cool, so just sort of start on the outside of the boat. Yeah, I've gone with a custom alloy trailer for this boat, so pretty excited about that. It's an amazing piece of kit, actually tows really well. I've been pleasantly surprised at how well it tows. Obviously it's a small boat, but the trailer has really added a different dimension in terms of towing. It's not a super heavy boat as I just mentioned, but the way that the trailer sticks to the road, yeah, I just can't fault it. Just while I guess we're on the outside of the boat, you can see the outriggers there. So those are Killwell 12K poles, and then obviously Killwell long reach bases that have got a bit of a custom sort of mod to them. Other feature of the boat is we raised the screen 50mm from the old one, and also made it out of 4mm instead of 3mm alloy to provide the strength for us to be able to run these bases. These bases provide me with the strength to be able to run my dredge from my outrigger and my teasers, which you'll see once we get on the water. And another feature that I put into this boat that I didn't have in the last one is my Muir drum winch. So super handy for me because obviously once we get inside the boat you'll see, but there's a lot of electronics and stuff along the front here in terms of my sounder and how I configured the dash. So leaning over the front to access the anchor hatch was a little bit problematic, so having the Muir drum winch was perfect addition. Cool, so the custom bait station has been a real cool addition for me. Obviously been able to travel with my 4 rods that I fish with up out of the sea spray, I guess from the gunnels, and the bait station was actually built to spec to make sure that all of my reels could fit side by side there and all of my rods, so it makes for, you know, I guess a lot nicer life for the reels heading out, and they're not getting smashed by the salt water. But also just the bait station's like a real handy spot for me to be able to prep my lures and stuff for the day. I can lay them all out here, clip them onto the rods and put them out when I'm fishing. The drawer has been an absolute game changer, so I just have a little box in there that's got spare crimps and bits of heat shrink, some rubber bands, lighter, etc., just all the little knacky stuff, and then tag cards in the bottom, and then I just have my lures that I've got here selected for the day. Obviously got a new custom Mini Chiefy Bonds Kraken, which is pretty excited about. So I guess, yeah, having these all prepped ready for the day makes it super easy when I get out to start fishing, and then I always have a couple of spares in there ready to go if, you know, I need to get a lure in quickly, if you know, I guess I've missed the fish, or I'm you know, end up losing one or conditions change, and then yeah, I got a bunch of spare leaders there as well. Also reconfigured the transom, so if we come down here, the whole transom is changed from the original 465. This is actually the transom that they use in the center console boats, so going up to the 535 etc., and it's given me the ability to be able to have 2 batteries, which is awesome. So got a house battery and a start battery now, which not only is super beneficial for obviously running things like my electronics, but also just an extra safety piece as well. And then if we just walk around to the other side here, yeah, so I'm predominantly a lure fisherman, but I always remember where I started, and live baiting was where it all started for me in terms of chasing marlins. So being able to add in this custom feature of tuna tubes through the transom has been a really cool process for me. The team were super helpful in designing how that would look and how that would work, and Grant did a magical job of rigging it all up. And then also if we come around here and we look in here, I was able to add a washdown pump too, which again is it's not a necessity, but it is super helpful. Keeps the boat nice and tidy, and the first fish I actually caught on here was yellowfin tuna, so we all know what mess they make when you get them on board. So it was really handy to be able to use that to wash it down. If we look at the side of the boat here, I've got the 360-degree exploding fish rod holders. All of them are the rotating models. Got two 15 degrees here in the corner, and then these are all 0 degrees. It gives me the ability to be able to turn. So if we look here, be able to turn my teaser rods to be able to line them up on the correct angle that I need them to be. This one here that I'm just adjusting at the moment is actually my outrigger rod, so that's where my rigger would go. Then my corner goes into that one, but obviously as I'm traveling out, I just run them one further back to keep it all nice and tidy. And the reason I run with them out is just to make sure I can get everything clipped in, so I'm not doing that out on the water, which again has been super helpful for me heading out each day, being able to do a lot of the, I guess, heavy lifting and finicky stuff at the ramp. It's obviously my rigger rod running up to my outrigger there, and then my corner rod again running up to my outrigger there. Just having the ability to change the angles of the rod tips is super important, just so when you get a bite, a clear line passes down into the inside of this one. Get a lot of questions around why am I guess the rod's so close together. People think I have access to both the reels really quickly, but it's purely for the fact that I can reach the rod tip from within the boat. So obviously if the rod was in the back rod holder here, I'd be reaching out over the back of the boat, which, in a small boat's not ideal. Well, in any boat it's not ideal, but in here, being able to stand in the boat, access the rod tip, clip lures on, grab the line and clear the gear. It's super handy, but also super safe. I'm not having to remove a rod from a rod holder or step over the back to try and get it. So yeah, obviously the layout here, got one in the back corner here, it's 15 degrees. That one's a 15 degree, that's a 0 degree, and then two 0 degrees there. Obviously one running the teaser, and on the other side of the boat, it's the exact same layout, but then obviously have my dredge rod there as well as the teaser rod. So obviously another feature that we're able to add into the boat was an underfloor fuel tank. So I've got a 72.5 litre fuel tank that runs straight down the middle of the floor here, which is awesome, keeps all that weight down low. Also just helps the boat actually ride a lot nicer too. And then you'll notice I've still got a cord here for a tote tank, so that there just gives me the ability to carry extra fuel on those bigger days out trolling. And then if we go into this hatch, you can actually see the fuel filter here. That's the line from the underfloor tank, and then I can just clip that off and then clip on that line here, and then that goes onto my tote tank. So obviously super handy, super easy, but just a nice easy way to carry some extra fuel, and it makes it nice and tidy. And also another feature, I was able to upgrade my seats. So yeah, they're just that little bit of extra comfort, and also like just little handy things like having a pocket on the back. But I guess the one thing that I didn't want to compromise on with these is that they're actually removable, and I can take it out. So having that ability to just do that when I get a fish on, to be able to drop the bimini, hopefully later today we'll see that in action, and then it gives me access to the wheel, access to be able to leader the fish, and plenty of room here for the angler. But hopefully we'll see that in practice a little bit later.
Bang! Money man!
We'll just sort of move up to the dash here. So got some pretty cool features up here on the dash. So got a Raymarine Axiom Pro 2 there, which is pretty awesome. And obviously you can see it's got a photo in the background there of the first marlin caught on Mini Chiefy 3.0, caught by my oldest boy Cooper. And then if we just look at just purely at the front here, go down, we've got our Raymarine autopilot control. It's the one with the dial, which is super handy. Yeah, as you can see, currently don't have my hands on the wheel, so yeah, I got a lot of comments about, I'm pretty sure I'm the smallest boat in the country that has autopilot, but as you can see with what I enjoy doing in terms of marlin fishing, having the ability to be able to watch the spread and keep an eye on, you know, what's sort of going on there. A lot of the fight can be dictated to by the way the fish eats and the way that you might think that fish is hooked, and you know, having been able to keep your eyes on the spread also gives you the ability to see if you're in an area that, you know, you should definitely, you know, stay working, because quite often a fish will, you know, sort of pop his head up, and when you can be alert and you can see those things, it often leads to more chances and more bites. So yeah, and at the end of the day too, also with being able to, you know, relax a little bit more, not so much sort of turning around, altering the wheel, trying to watch the spread, you just feel a lot better at the end of the day. So quite often I'm out here for, you know, sort of 12 plus hours fishing, so being able to at the end of the day go home and feel not so sort of tense and taut from constantly spinning and turning, yeah, it's definitely been a game changer for me and has helped me improve my fishing. So yeah, the unit that I do use is a Ray Marine one, and it seems to be really outstanding, especially in the small boat. The heading sensor actually turns off tilt, not just on the heading, so it's got a little gyro stabilizer heading bearing in it, and that seems to do a really good job of keeping the boat nice and consistent. It is a small boat, so it does get moved around a bit by the sea, and as you can see, I'm not a small dude, so myself moving around the boat, my crew sort of moving around the boat, you know, quite often it'll turn the boat into a, you know, pretty decent turn if you don't have the autopilot on. So having the autopilot and with that heading sensor working off the tilt, it gives me a really good, nice stable platform to fish, and keeps my lines really consistent, which is important to me. And then we've got the Fusion R670 stereo there. These are a really cool feature. So the sand strut waterproof USB charging port. So it's got USB-C and then just a normal standard USB in there, which is actually how I capture all of my cool bite footage that I do get. So I run a pole off a Railblazer mount up the front there, but super handy. Everything's nice and waterproof and all tucked away. And then the other cool feature that we added into this boat, again from Sandstrut, is just the wireless charging port. So super handy, fully waterproof, all nice and tucked away, phones out of the sun while we're sitting there. And then by raising, I guess, the screen by 50 mils, we also raise these pods by 50 mils. So we've got a lot more, I guess, usable, workable space up the top here to be able to put leader gloves, GoPros, little bits and pieces that I need to get my hands to quickly, and then yeah, just handy cup holders for not only ice cold beers, but you know, put little bits and pieces in there at times as well. I guess an awesome feature, you know, I guess in terms of being able to build a boat custom and work with the guys at Fin Chaser, was obviously we raised the screen, added the 4mm like we spoke about, but then also we actually raised the dash in here as well, so that we could fit all of the electronics over here. So like in terms of our, I guess, the safety side of things, the 2 batteries, also being able to run everything on switches has given us the ability to be able to not be constantly draining power in certain areas you don't need to. So yeah, we've got plenty of switches here, tuna tubes, obviously both on a switch each. Then we got, you know, things like the charging ports, bilge pumps, cockpit lights, underwater lights, all the fancy stuff, nav lights and stuff as well. Another feature that is super important when game fishing especially is having a steering wheel with a suicide knob. So this one here obviously looks pretty fancy and it's pretty stylish, but it's actually super functional. And then having the suicide knob, having the ability to be able to maneuver the boat with one hand is super important. And hopefully later on today, if we get a fish on and we've got them on the leader, you'll notice how much I actually use that steering wheel for the last little bits of the fight, and having the ability to be able to still leader the fish with one hand and then be able to maneuver the boat with the other and not be constantly letting go of the steering wheel is super helpful. Another little handy feature is the ports that I use for my electric reels, so they're nice and tucked away up the front there. Keeps the cords nice and tidy. Can run them from there back up to my teaser and dredge rods, without being too imposing, without getting in the way, and they're all nice and tucked away from the weather as well, and safe of anyone sort of tripping over them or accidentally pulling them out. So then, obviously you can see here, teamed up with those ports is the circuit breakers. So obviously, again, super handy to be able to have circuit breakers there to be able to disengage the power to those, so you're not constantly draining your batteries. So you just flick them on and off just like that. Cool. And obviously, as you can see, I'm wearing bare feet, and that's because I have boat deck on the floor of my boat, which again is just such an awesome feature to be able to have. Super lucky to have the support of them, and also awesome to be able to customize it to suit my boat. So the boys done a great job at making it, I guess, suit the color scheme of the boat and how I like it, with the dark gray and the black. And then also it's given me the ability to be able to show some of the awesome people that support me with the podcast and my fishing, with obviously Fin Chaser, Bonds, Kilwell, Shimano, Good George, and just another fisherman, all presented here within the boat deck. And if we sort of swing around to the back here, obviously it's a feature that comes standard with all FC boats is the passive live bait tank. So the other day we actually caught a couple of mackerel here, which is not too common for me. Normally obviously lure fishing, but we just took a couple of extra baits out and they swam happy in there all day for a full day's trolling, and released them right here at the ramp at Manu Bay when we got in. But this is also a super handy feature for me when I'm lure fishing, because obviously clearing the gear, and if we look at the lures and the sharp hooks, number one rule, don't put them on the floor. For me, being able to just chuck them into the live bait tank when I got a fish on and deal with the mess a little bit later on is super handy. Makes it super safe down here. Don't have loose line or anything sort of coming from the rods, and people don't end up with hooks in their feet generally. Another really cool feature, so these here were made by Endeavour Engineering, so a good mate of mine, Zach. It's just a nice tidy little fitting. Being able to tension the riggers, super important for consistency of the bite. So I scale test all of my rigger clips to 5 kilos, so having those all set, having the ropes or the halyard lines really taut, just gives that nice clear release. Also gives me the ability to load my pole. So you'll notice my Outrigger pole has a nice loaded curve in it, so there's no flex. When those bites come and release, it can release really crisply and cleanly. Helps for consistency around the hookup, because we all know that marlin can be really finicky. And then that obviously just runs down through the gunnel, and then we have a little cam cleat there that we just tension, pull tight, and it locks it off, holds it in place. Nice and easy to access, can pop it back out when I need to loosen it off. Another question that I get asked a lot is, why was it, I guess, an FC or Fin Chaser boat that I originally went with? And for me, it was really important. Local community is a big thing for me. Being a Waikato lad, born and bred, it's pretty cool to be able to have a boat that's built in Hamilton, built for fishermen, by fishermen. So, Ross has got a really proud history of what he's done at Fish City in Hamilton. And then, once they started to make the boats and looking at the small boats and what he was able to create, I was really, really stoked to be a part of that. And my first FC 465 Moz, might have even been in the first 10 that were ever built. So for me, I had a 430 originally, a tiller. I used to love that boat, spent so much time on it, did a lot of kingy fishing, soft baiting, all that fun stuff. But then, I really wanted to get into what we're doing here today in terms of marlin fishing, and I had so much faith and trust in the hull of the 430 when Ross told me that the 465 was the same hull, just with obviously the pod on the back to balance out the weight and to house the outboard. It was pretty much a no-brainer for me. I was on a bit of a budget, so that's what I went with. And then yeah, obviously we're here today on Mini Chiefy 3.0, and a lot of people have asked the question, why not a bigger boat? Normally when everyone upgrades they get a bigger boat, but for me, I've spent so many years on Mini Chiefy, I knew exactly, you know, how I wanted that boat to be, and then obviously being able to work that into the boat that we have here today, and working with the guys at Fin Chaser, it became really cool process. And yeah, as you can see, like, the boat's exactly how I want it, and you know, nothing truer than the tagline, built for fishermen by fishermen. Well, there you have it, team, Mini Chiefy 3.0. Hope you enjoyed watching along. Pretty excited for some awesome adventures that we'll have with this boat, and yeah, hopefully see you out there on the water.
You know what else looks good? Mini Chiefy with a Marlin alongside. Yeah, boy! Oh, you! Let's have a